Hi, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Indira, and today I'm joined by Grace Ping. Grace grew up a child running star and made global headlines as she set multiple age group world records from the age of 12 onwards. She broke 17 in the 5K before she even turned 14. However, like many female athletes, Grace encountered a few challenges and hurdles along the way. In this episode, she shares her journey and what it was like starting off from the highest high possible and moving through college years as an injured athlete, and now how it is being in a healthy place and how she found her way to this point. She raises lots of important and valuable points within the episode and also provides an American perspective on things. Grace demonstrates the power of mindset and touches upon the role of perfectionism in finding true happiness and success within the sport, as well as her journey navigating red S and multiple stress fractures. Okay, let's get into the episode. Hi, Grace, how are you? And thanks for joining us from the States.
Hi, I'm good. Yeah, I'm happy to be talking with you today.
Yeah, no, really exciting to have you on. And obviously, you've got not necessarily a more unique story, but I'd say a more amplified story. You know, you were right out there, kind of world sensation in your junior days, and yeah, you've got an amazing journey that's kind of happened with you. So, yeah, I guess first things first, can you briefly introduce yourself as an athlete, person, runner, human?
Yeah, so my name is Grace Ping. I've been running for really my whole life. I had a lot of success with running from a really young age and have always loved it. Have definitely dealt with various setbacks in the past couple, maybe more than couple of years now. But I'm currently in my senior year at Oklahoma State University, going into the outdoor track season now. Um, And yeah, I have really made a lot of great friends, have had so many really cool opportunities through running, and it's just something that I still love to do.
No, that's what we love to hear. You know, it's always great when you have that lifelong passion and that love continues. And sometimes I guess it can evolve in how you derive that enjoyment or, you know, the directions things take. But no, that's great to hear. And yeah, I mean, you say quite a lot of success. Just to bring anyone up to speed who doesn't know, you know, we're talking age group world records, we're talking, you know, quite a lot of them. We're talking fame on a global level from sort of 12, 13. So yeah, quite a lot going on there. And for you, what would you say your highest high has been so far, and then also your lowest low?
Yeah, my highest high, that's hard because I think probably from the outside perspective, it's different than my perspective. So I think
Mhm.
that creates a sort of bias of what my highest high is. I think one of my favorite races ever so far still has been my sophomore year of high school, like cross country season state meet. Um, it was just a really good race. I felt really good. It was one of those races where everything kind of came together, and then I had so many friends and family out there to support me from my school, so that was really fun. And then soon after that, I was able to compete on the U20s team at World Cross in Denmark, and that was an insane experience. So I think that's probably kind of the high of my running this far. Just really got to see everything kind of come to fruition for me at that young of an age. And then the lowest lows, on like these past couple of years with running, I think to put into perspective, this year has been the first year that I've been healthy in probably since that sophomore in high school cross country season. So that's when I was 15 and now I'm 21. And even after this cross country season, I had a little bit of a hurt, but it was able to go away quickly. But it's crazy just thinking about that and like realizing, wow, this is the first really like full year of training, of racing, of competing that I've been able to do in that long of a time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first things first, congrats. That's amazing. And it's so great to see that. And it can take so, so long. And yeah, that is a really long time. And it's great you kind of put those timestamps in there, for anyone who's maybe not familiar with kind of sophomore high school, how it all pans out. But I just want to follow up as well. When you first mentioned kind of your perspective versus the outside perspective, I think that's such an interesting topic in and itself. But the examples you gave for those highs, were they your perspective or the ones that were more from the outside perspective?
Yeah, so the examples I gave were definitely the highs from my perspective. Um, and I think from the world perspective, or even people I would be in conversation with, especially when I was younger, always think that Roy Griak, it was like the greatest race of my life, which isn't even true. I mean, it was a good race and it was very exciting, and obviously that got a lot of attention. Um, but that has not been like my best race, and it was a great experience, but I don't know. It wasn't even like the most exciting race that I've run, but it is cool to look back on and it was fun in the moment.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting to hear. And yeah, that's the one that got the 7+ million views on YouTube. So I can imagine that was yeah, quite a thing to have. And then for you, what's the best piece of advice you've received and why?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I feel like I have a lot of people in my life that have given me advice. I think running wise, probably just to enjoy it. I don't know if you know who Tom Schwartz is, but he was kind of helped coach me growing up, and I'm still have a good relationship with him, and he's always been really supportive of that mindset of just keeping it something that you love and that you enjoy, not making it a job. And then I think from my parents, like the message throughout growing up has always just been do your best and have fun. And that's something I've always held on to because it's definitely something that you can control, doing your best and having fun. So it kind of takes the pressure off of things, and yeah, it helps.
Yeah, definitely doing your best and having fun. Some great piece of advice there. And is there anything different than that that you might say to your younger self?
Yeah, I think it is so interesting growing up and just being able to look back on my younger self differently, or even speak with other younger girls differently. I think like right now we have a really great group of freshmen on our team, and it's been really cool just being able to have really meaningful conversations with them. And I feel like kind of for the first time I'm able to use things went that I've been through to really relate to them more. And I even think about it like whenever I want to be a mom someday. So like how will I go about these things with my kids? But I think I would carry along those same things of having fun and doing your best, but I think that there's so much more that goes into it with like the little daily struggles or sometimes year-long struggles. Um, I think recently what I've been thinking of is kind of the fact of like it's not over until it's over. Like when you're in it, it feels like you're done. Like there's I was like, okay, I'm never gonna run good again. Or, like it's never going to be better. It's really easy to get yourself in those extreme mindsets, and sometimes you really need those outside perspectives to be like, you're still really young, like there's still a lot of time. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things about every single different topic that I would probably have advice for my younger self.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great to hear you've got that, I guess, introspective view on things, and you've clearly learned from what you've been through for the better. And for sure, there is so many challenges to navigate. And yeah, it's hindsight's a wonderful thing, but it's great that you're now able to, I guess, give back some of that to, the younger girls. And, I'm sure that will be, so valuable to them. And yeah, it is sometimes just a question of being patient and waiting, but sometimes it can feel like that light is, a very, very long way away. And that can be so, so hard to deal with, especially when you're in, such a sort of running bubble, which I'd imagine has been your experience, taking it through kind of school and college.
Yeah, it definitely has. I think too, I've always just like gravitated towards runners as my friends. Because I think you share so many common interests and values. And then being on a team, of course, that's who I'm surrounded by. And not all of my friends are runners, but yeah, that is kind of how it ends up being.
Yeah, it's funny sometimes when you like something a lot, it just yeah, you end up finding that that's who you're surrounded by. And speaking of values, what are three things that you value now for being happy and successful?
Yeah, I think I've definitely kind of shifted the focus more towards like fulfillment and realizing that giving my best regardless of outcome is really what's truly fulfilling. And if I don't do that, that's when I'll be really like upset with myself and kind of sad, because I will know when I'm not doing that. And then also like my faith has definitely something that has helped me through just yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to that too,
Yeah.
but um and yeah, I mean, I think just like the people around me too, realizing that I can open up to them and they want to um understand the different things um about I don't know. I don't want to say like what I'm going through again because it's not like I've been through this severe thing. Like it's been a great experience, but I think people really want to be a part of your journey and a part of your life. And for a while, I just kept everything so closed off because I was embarrassed or ashamed or just wanted to seem like I had it all together. And so it's been really cool to see and begin to understand that um like you can let people in to those parts of your life too.
Yeah, no, I think three really great things there. And yeah, especially in kind of the trusting and letting people in. I think often maybe it comes along with the athlete type, kind of that constant striving for success, quite high levels of self-criticism. But actually people around you, they do care about you, they do love you, they do want to be there for you. But it is a case of, yeah, taking that step and being brave and letting it all out. But yeah, I guess it's great that that's something that you have got now. And I guess because that is something that a lot of people struggle with, especially athletes, especially female athletes, in terms of kind of the embarrassment or thoughts of it feeling shameful for you, is there anything in particular or any areas you think that that comes from?
Yeah, I think recently I've realized that it's sort of like this perfectionist mindset of like thinking that you have to have everything figured out before you go and have, I don't know, like these conversations with people or ask for this or say that you want this or whatever it is. Or also just feeling like you need to present this image to be the best athlete or the best whatever. That's not necessarily true. Like people don't expect perfection from you as much as sometimes you can expect it from yourself. And I had never really realized that until this year. I read a book this year and it really, because I like growing up as like you said an athlete, like it's common to have like those type A kind of perfectionistic traits, but I don't think you always realize, or I didn't always realize how it like kind of affected my relationships as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's such a key point. And what was the book that you read, and what in particular was it that allowed you to make those steps?
Yeah, it was called The Perfectionist's Guide to Losing Control. It's a really cute cover of the book. That's really what drew me
Love
in.
that.
Um, yeah, there's she just talked a lot about the different types of perfectionism and how it's not always the same and it's not a bad thing, but like it can be. So figuring out how to use it in the good ways and how to, it's like maladaptive perfectionism versus, I don't know, the good kind. But yeah.
Okay, and so I guess would you class yourself as a perfectionist? And do you have any kind of further? info on the types of perfectionism?
Yeah, I think I still am in different ways. I used to be the kid that would like cry over like not hitting a split in a workout. I'm not that anymore. Um, but yeah, the different types, it was like messy perfectionist. Um, I can't remember all of them right now,
Yeah,
but
no worries at all.
yeah, a messy perfectionist, they're not always like the keep your room clean type, which is what people think of when they think of perfectionists, I feel like. Um, but it can be like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to it, but it's really cool to look into.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. Check that out if you are someone who struggles with the perfectionist mindset. And I'll throw in as well the growth mindset by Carol Dweck's also an excellent read for kind of, I guess, letting go or finding control in a less controlling way, perhaps. But that's so interesting. And have you found that that's benefited your life quite significantly since, I guess, looking into that a lot more?
I think, yeah, it's definitely given me a different perspective on things. I also just like learning about that stuff and I like reading different books. But yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And let's, you talk about being that kid who might have cried over a missed split in a workout. And I think that definitely is something a lot of people are probably guilty of also doing or struggling with that when they're younger as well. How did it all start off for you? Talk us through your entry into running.
Yeah, so I guess growing up, my parents both like ran and did road races together. So then we would just kind of tag along and sometimes run around the neighborhood. We had like this little loop that we called it was like to Matt's and back, which is the cul-de-sac at the end of our neighborhood. Matt is the guy that lived at the end of it. So
Love
we
that.
would run to Matt's and back. And then we would just do the road races with my parents. And yeah, I think like when I was maybe 8, I got like a Minnesota state record at one of those road races. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, like I guess I'm doing good at this, or like, and I really liked it. And I don't know. Then it was really fun to be good at something because that's like always really fun.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, I lived in Minnesota, so you could start competing on the high school team when you were 12. So that kind of also like just sped things up for me and I got to kind of be competitive more early on, which was also fun for me. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. Definitely a family thing.
Yeah, that's really nice. And yeah, you've mentioned family and the role of them in your journey quite a lot. So clearly are something that's very important to you and your running journey so far. And I guess then you talk about being able to compete on the high school team from 12. Is that different to kind of the normal system? And for our listeners who aren't maybe in the States, what's kind of the situation there?
Yeah, so normally in the US we start high school in your freshman year, ninth grade, which you're like 14, 15, I want to say. It's hard to
Yeah.
remember now. But yeah, seventh grade you're 12, 18, or eighth grade you're 13, then 14. Yeah. Um, but yeah, in some states, Minnesota, I know New York, um, I don't know all of them, but not very many. You can start competing earlier, which normally you'd be like a middle school athlete. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
kind of a different system in every state.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I guess then, yeah, it was sort of 12, 13. You were breaking these age group world records. Talk us through what that was like having that at that age, how did you cope with it?
Yeah, it's so funny because it honestly was just it became so normal to me. Like every race I would run, I would get like a world record. Um, and so I don't know, it was just something that I expected, which is even how I feel about Roy Grech. Like people will ask me about that, like, oh my gosh, like was that so crazy? And it wasn't really because I just like always won everything. So it was just like, oh, I won again. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's pretty cool experience when you're like PRing every race and like getting these records and like getting posted and interviewed and things. I think it was always something that I enjoyed, and I wasn't like the type of kid that like it really got to my head or anything. I think it definitely gave me a lot of confidence that I maybe didn't realize until later on how much of my confidence was coming from that success and that attention, but that's kind of a given. I mean, if you're getting so much positive reinforcement for something, like you're gonna get confidence from it. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. I mean, what child wouldn't enjoy that? What person wouldn't enjoy that? And yeah, I can't imagine how that would have been kind of having all of that and then obviously moving on through and maybe encountering a few challenges and hurdles after that would have been quite difficult moving from that as a start point. And from a sort of identity perspective, you talk about realizing kind of how much confidence was maybe coming from that at the time. Do you want to talk us through kind of how things evolved from, such a high starting point and maybe where you started to realize that, yeah, that was fueling you quite a bit more than maybe you realized at the time?
Yeah, I think um so at the beginning of my junior year of high school, so that's year 11, I want to say, I moved to Arizona with my family, obviously. And um I think that was kind of a shock too. It was something I was super excited for, and I was excited to move and live in Arizona, but I don't think I realized how much, like, having the support of a small town and community also kinda gave me that confidence, so I was now in a place where no one really knew me. I obviously had coaches and teammates and friends there, and then I started dealing with injuries. I had a pretty bad knee injury my junior, senior year of high school that, put me out for a while. I was just cross training for a pretty long time. It's called osteotitis dissecans. But so that was hard. I definitely was probably more sad because I was like in this new place and I wasn't able to really run and um dealing with a really serious injury for the first time. Oh, because right when I moved to, I also got a sacral stress reaction, and that was, like, my first ever bone injury. I forgot about that, and then that next season, I got the knee injury. Um, so, yeah, that was my first time being like, "Okay, like, no one here really knows who I am. I'm hurt, I can't run." I Yeah, it was sad, but I had that, like, experience of college to look forward to, and I was going through the recruiting process, and in that fall, I still raced and things, but, yeah, I think I just held on to, like, college, and I was so excited to, be at that next level and compete again, and then I think through college, I made so many great friends and great teammates, but kinda dealt with the same injury struggles again for the first few years, which, yeah, I mean, I just started to realize, like, how much of my confidence had come from running and success in running and maybe even the attention that I was getting, and I think I've finally been able to kind of, shift that and find confidence in other areas, but I don't it's an interesting thing, for
Mm.
sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, child stardom and having that experience, it really does come with its challenges, and it is something that is so, I guess, experienced by so few. There's not a lot of people you can sort of relate to or talk about it with necessarily. And yeah, it's a lot emotionally. I mean, moving's always huge, and being injured is always huge, and being injured and moving and being young, that's never ideal. But yeah, it sounds like you ended up with quite a lot of injuries there. Firstly, was the move in any way related to running, or was it kind of independent?
No, so the move was for my dad's job. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, I guess you find yourself in a new place, you've got these injuries for the first time. Emotionally, how did you deal with it at the time? And on hindsight, how do you think maybe you could have dealt with it differently?
Yeah, I think emotionally I can sometimes be pretty extreme, so I'll be like really happy and then I can get pretty sad. But I don't know, it's so long ago now, it's
Yeah.
a little bit hard to look back on. I definitely was sad, but I think I tried to just focus that energy into cross training and supporting my teammates and kind of getting into that new place. Um, and I also was just focused on the postseason races that fall that I had gotten there, just getting back for those. Um, but yeah, I mean, it definitely was sad, and I definitely had periods of being pretty sad over injuries. It's something that's hard to go through for sure because
Mm.
you want like you can't do something that you love to do, and you can't really be like at practices in the same way or like around your teammates and friends in the same way. I think those are some of the hardest things about it.
Yeah, definitely. It often is kind of that social side. It can be hard to be kind of as part of things, but there are ways around it. And you mentioned as well the looking forward to college, that being kind of maybe your light at that point in time. And obviously that's a big process in itself. Did you find that the pressure that came along with that impacted you, or how was that process?
Of like going to college or the recruiting
Yeah, I
process.
guess the recruiting process, I'd imagine you probably had a lot of people interested or stuff to kind of negotiate with there.
Yeah, I always talk about this with my friends and teammates. I think the recruiting process is so funny to look back on because you're just sitting on the phone with like these adults is when you're like 17 years old and you have these phone calls with them like sometimes weekly. And it's almost like dating in a way because you're like trying to figure out who's the best fit or like who wants you. Um, it's so funny. And then you're like dealing with money for the first time with these
Mhm.
scholarship offers and things. Um, but yeah, I think that was of course like an exciting and fun process for me figuring out where I wanted to go to school. I think it is a hard decision to make because there's so many places that seem like they could be a good fit for you. And you don't have a crystal ball to see what's gonna end up happening at the end of the day. So, and then I was going through the recruiting process during COVID, so I couldn't take any official visits, which made the process a little bit different for my class too. Um, but yeah, it was an exciting time. I think there were definitely times where I was a little bit stressed out by it because it was like, this is such a big decision, but I think it just had to get back to like being grateful for that opportunity to compete at the collegiate level.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously you went with Oklahoma in the end. What kind of led you to choose them? And at the point of going to college, what were your hopes and ambitions for your collegiate experience?
Yeah, so I think I ended up choosing Oklahoma State just because I had a really good relationship with our assistant coach at the time, Anna Thorpe Boyer. I can't remember which one's her maiden name, which one's her Anna Thorpe, and and Coach Dave Smith. And then I did still like visit the schools on my own, and I liked the campus. I always like kind of like had this idea of the South that I really liked, being from not the South, so that was kind of exciting to me. And then I had seen, I guess like the success that they had with girls and also guys in their program, and that was exciting to me. And at the time, they were kind of building their women's program, so I was excited to be a part of that. But yeah, definitely going into college, I had very big goals and aspirations, but it doesn't always play out that way.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I guess earlier on you mentioned kind of a shift towards a more process based approach to things, with kind of making sure that you're happy with what you put into the journey or the process, and really valuing that. So do you want to talk about your college experience so far then, and where maybe things have turned out differently to how you expected?
Mhm. It's crazy being in my fourth year of college now and looking back at each previous year because it just feels like a different life like each year. I've been trying to tell our freshmen this because it's just so funny. I don't know. It's so crazy thinking back to all the time that I've spent here. But I think for me, it was a pretty easy adjustment to college, both training wise and moving and friends. I was lucky to have really great people in my class that like my roommates now I became best friends with like immediately when I moved to college. So that's been one of the greatest gifts for sure. But yeah, it was just different. I think coming in, we had limited interaction with the older girls in the team because of COVID still. Like it was kind of our coaches were kind of strict with like keeping people healthy. Like we still had to get tested, so there was a little bit of separation initially, which um maybe made the experience a little different off the bat. But yeah, just as time went on, right in January of my freshman year, I got a spiral stress fracture in my fibula, so I was on crutches for a bit and in a boot for a bit. Um, And then I kind of came back for outdoor, but it was just not the same. And then each fall, I kind of dealt with like the same reoccurring injury. And yeah, just like haven't really felt like myself throughout this, a lot of those times. And then like cross training and coming back and cross training and coming back and cross training, coming back. Like, I think when you cross train and come back like the first few times, you feel the same. But then over time, it's like you're not really getting much consistent training, and there's a lot of other fluctuations and changes that are happening. Um, yeah, it's definitely a very formative time, and there's so much that has happened. It's hard to even, I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes when so much happens and you reach such extreme lows or such extreme highs, it can kind of almost merge into one and blur into something. And it's easy to kind of separate yourself from the event and it just feels like a whole nother world. And it's like, how do you even begin to kind of communicate the ups and downs of something that's so kind of long and repetitive? And yeah, it's of course, sorry to hear that it's been so up and down, and obviously recurring injuries are so challenging to deal with. And it's like you say, the first few times the motivation's there. It's like you can get yourself back, but after so many cycles of injury, it can become a real slog. And there's so much to pick up on here. And so let's start kind of, yeah, first things first in terms of the nature of these injuries. You mentioned before having kind of stress fracture as part of past injuries. Do you have any kind of reasons as to where these came from? Is it kind of part of Red S? Is that something you've been through? Or yeah, talk us through your experience with stress fractures because yeah, unfortunately they are a very common occurrence.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. I think probably when I started to get them in high school, I was not fueling properly, getting the proper nutrients, and then throughout my freshman year, I think I ended up finding out that my vitamin D was super low, which can obviously make your bones really weak. Um, and then I did have a little bit with Red S more so in like the past few years. It didn't really line up with injury, more just I think I finally came to a point of like complete fatigue. I don't know for what reason, but yeah, I didn't have my period for about a year, and before that I had kind of struggled with keeping it consistently, and then last year I just didn't have it for a whole year, which was something that was a lot to figure out, like a lot of blood work and things. And everyone is so different that it's hard to go about that. But I am definitely fortunate enough to have parents that really kind of have educated themselves in those things for me and gotten me to different doctors and naturopaths or whatever to help me figure those things out. And I think that's definitely contributed to me staying healthy finally this year because I've had my period and I've been able to balance all of those things with like getting proper nutrition, like eating enough, and then um, getting my period and training consistently and figuring out what that looks like for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's great that you mentioned kind of the individuality there and kind of touch upon the complex nature of it because it really is a very individual thing. And Red S in particular, it's such an indefinable kind of situation. It's not got anything too concrete. It's more the accumulation of lots of different things that can present, and it takes a long time to build up. And for sure you're so far from alone in being in that situation, and that it's just so challenging to get the right nutrition for supporting kind of the level of training that a lot of athletes do. And when you're female, and there just wasn't that information in the past as well. And so I guess as well, the vitamin D, it's great you bring that up because I think that is something that's often very underspoken about. I know I personally have had vitamin D deficiency in the past, and it really makes a difference when you then do start taking kind of supplements on that. For you, in terms of that journey, so initially, you're going through these cycles of injury. What's the mindset like, and how did that impact on your identity and experience at college?
Yeah, I think impacted my experience a ton. I really made the decision to come to Oklahoma State for running, and so when I would find myself in this position of being here in Oklahoma, not being able to run, I was like, what am I doing here? And then it would kind of spiral from there, as you can imagine. Um, but like I've kind of said before, I'm very thankful to have made some really great friends here. And they have definitely made those experiences so much better. But yeah, it's just a different experience. You hear people talk about, going to college and not being comfortable with not being the best anymore, but I never really thought that that would be an issue for me because I think growing up, I always put myself in situations or races where I wasn't the best. But it's different in a team culture than in races. And when you grow up with your dad as your coach, and now you have a coach that you share with a bunch of other girls, um, it's the attention is different, the experience is definitely different, and it can be really hard to manage. And then on top of that, like I am, or in the past few years and still am, like a young girl, like growing up and figuring out how to deal with my own emotions and experiences and living across the country for the first time, like all those things. Yeah, I don't know. It is a lot, but yeah, there have been so many good things too, but yeah, it's a big identity shift for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It is huge, and there is so much to figure out at that age, and definitely a shift from having your dad to a different coach and that sort of increased team feel. Before we kind of continue on with this side of things, in terms of having your dad as your coach, how do you think that helped and kind of impacted your journey up to the point where you switched?
I think that I really liked having my dad as my coach because it was just like a shared interest. Like it made us a lot closer, and we definitely still are like closer through running. Like it's just something that we can share. And he didn't run growing up. Like he kind of like taught himself this running stuff like for my sister and I. So that's always something that's been really cool. I think by the end of my high school experience, I was ready to not have my dad as a coach, and it's also nice to have that different relationship and a little bit of separation between you and your coach. So it's kind of like a you want what you can't have type of situation at times, but Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely um good though to have those people that understand what you're working towards, and I think he's always really believed in me more than I believed in myself, so that's helped. It helps when someone's telling you like you can do this or like this is what you can like I don't know. That really does help.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone needs those people in their life who are there, forever and always cheerleaders. And for sure, there does come a time, or there's always times in life where you know that you're ready for the next thing. And I guess to continue back along with kind of the whole college experience, then you say there were good things that came from it, and obviously you dealt with a lot at the time, going through all these injuries. How did you manage that? What were the areas that you sort of went to, and how did you, I guess, sort of refine yourself, or are in the process of refining yourself?
Yeah, I think a lot of the times it was just putting that energy into cross training. But there were definitely times where I was like, a common negative thought that I would have is like, I did not sign up to be a swimmer and a biker and elliptical, or like I want to run. Like that's why I'm here to run, not to cross train. Like this is not what I wanted to do. But it's definitely being able to take the time to kind of flip that mindset. I think coming back to the fulfillment piece. Um, but there were definitely times where I was like, this is like I can't do this anymore. Like this is I'm done. Like there is no yeah. But I always come back every time, and um really it's just I think like a love for running. It's what I enjoy to do, and I think that's kind of what keeps people in it for so long. But always like also just like this hope that I would stay healthy or like I would get a little bit better. And throughout those times, I always kind of had these like chunks of good training that would keep me going. And it's hard to get those good chunks of training and then get hurt and like not really have anything to show for it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really remember what your question was anymore, to be honest, but yeah.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's a all the time occurrence, but no, for sure, it's great that you did navigate through those times, and that there were some good elements that came through for you there. And of course, you talk about how now you're healthy for the first time in, quite a long time. Do you want to reflect upon maybe some of the key points in that journey to how you've now found health, and maybe what you'd say to someone else who's in a position where they're looking to restore their full health?
For sure. Yeah, I think some of it is probably time, but there are definitely things that I did over the course of that time to now help me to be able to run and be healthy. I think a big thing is fueling. I make sure to have like protein after my hard workouts and just getting in more like carbs, healthy carbs, whatever, but it's not something that I really used to prioritize. And that has definitely made a difference in just like energy levels and mood and ability to go through training and everything like that. Um, I think the little things like vitamins, like iron and vitamin D, like I don't think everyone knows about those things, and they're so easy to do, but so detrimental if those levels are low, which is frustrating when you're putting in all the work and doing all those things, and to not have those things right is, you know, it's in my like opinion, that's like just the easiest part of the whole aspect of the whole running training journey. And then I definitely went through periods of doing a lot more cross training than running mileage. Now my running mileage is back up again. I right now we do a lot of doubling, which for some reason I think that has helped me just separating those runs. Um yeah, I don't know. There's so many things, and I wish I could think of every little thing because for a long time there, like I was the person just sitting there just researching and trying to figure out like what was going on, which is an exhausting place to be. Um, it's not fun to always trying to be figuring out some sort of problem. But yeah, hopefully some of those pieces of advice will help someone.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And it is so true. Those are exhausting places to be in, uncertainty and lack of knowledge. It's stressful, it's difficult, and especially with health, it is so complicated. And when you're an athlete as well, I don't know what it's like out in the States, but in the UK, there's normally sort of a standard GP, who's general practitioner, and they don't always know the specialisms or appreciate kind of the sports side of things. Is it sort of a similar situation? Did you have to kind of self-initiate a lot of stuff? And then for you, you talk about kind of, I guess, yeah, figuring some stuff out. What were the key realizations for you, or maybe the most valuable thing that enabled you to find your health?
My mom is actually a chiropractor, and my both my parents are very like health conscious, into the more um I don't know, holistic way of doing things. So, yes, in the US is definitely more the standard practice things at the doctors and everything like that. But just because of the way that my parents are and their knowledge, I've always kind of gone through like naturopaths or different more like holistic doctors that focus kind of on like the blood work and the root cause of things, which I guess is another kind of piece of advice for people. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to think of all the little things that went into it. I think one of the biggest things from a young age that I learned was kind of getting enough protein. The first time that I went without my period for a little bit was I think like my sophomore year of high school, and I talked to this guy out in Flagstaff, and he was like, have 25 grams of protein 5 times a day. And that got me my period back right away. So I don't know. I mean, for me, I think it has been a lot about nutrition, but I think that topic can be hard for some people. I think it's different for everyone and
Mm.
how you should go about that. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It is a kind of bit of a solo journey in that respect, but yeah, with lots of people sharing stuff these days, there's definitely an increased, I guess, knowledge of where maybe you can start on that individual journey. And then I guess for you now, you are in a healthy place. After some time, do you want to talk us through where your mindset's at currently and how things are going and how you're feeling about running?
Yeah, so I would say even through this past fall, I didn't know if I was going to continue running after this year, because it is my senior of college, but I have a lot more eligibility left because of those injuries and things. Um, so it's sometimes when you are in like a good place, like excited about going forward and things, it's easy to forget those moments. I mean, there's been so many times where I was about to quit. Like I can't even really pinpoint them. Um, but yeah, I think after this cross country season, I was still unsure about it, and then just running over winter break and things. Um, And so right now or next year I'm grad transferring to Duke and I'm running there. So that's kind of something that I'm really excited about right now. And then honestly, just finally seeing a little bit of progress. My dad always says like progress is what gives confidence. And I think that that is true in many ways. And like this past indoor season, I was able to finally run a PR in what has been like 8 years without a PR. And even though the times like aren't really that good, and I'm very aware of that, but it's just so exciting to finally be seeing progress and just feel like it's like going somewhere and it's worth it because I think I've found many ways to make it worth it without that progress. So Yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited to keep running and hopefully stay healthy and figure out ways to continue to create that progress.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And you say times aren't so great. Maybe not near your potential potentially, but they're still, some very impressive times already. So no, that's really great to hear and really exciting as well. And I guess you mentioned that there's things that you found to kind of have that value from that aren't necessarily the times. Can you specify any of those in particular?
I think, like I kind of mentioned earlier, just like that fulfillment in giving your best to something and focusing on that instead of the outcome, and realizing how, I guess, like good that can make you feel in and of itself. But then definitely just my team, the team aspect of running. I love all my teammates. I like hanging out with them. I like running with them. So that's something that's definitely kept me through too. And I mean, also I like running. Like it's something that I like to do. And so I want to be good at it. And I think when you know, now I really know what it's like to be good at it. And I don't want to say this in like a rude way because everyone is at different places in the running journey, but I also kind of know what it's like to be bad at it. And I would like to be good at it again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sometimes you have to lose something to realize what you've lost or have one experience to have the perspective or relative difference to appreciate what's going on in front of you. And I guess along those lines then, how does it feel now to be running? How's your mindset different to how it was in the past? And what's your main focus when you're running, aside from obviously trying to reach your best?
Yeah, I think just kind of that progress is something that I've held on to and definitely a lot kinder to myself throughout the process and more accepting of and appreciative of the little wins. I think going, I mean, like you said, like going without running makes you more appreciative of running. Like going without a PR makes you more appreciative of a PR. Yeah, going without things just makes you more appreciative of them, I think. It is kind of like this balance of giving myself grace throughout the process, but then also like kind of like wanting more and wanting to be better and wanting to improve. Um, but I think you don't have to be mean to yourself to get to that point, which is another thing that I'm learning. Like self-compassion, is not a weakness, which I think is a really easy trap, but it's more like ego. Like I think I used to think that like I had to really be mean to myself in order to succeed, but that's like honestly pretty detrimental and really not motivating. Like I don't know. It's a good feeling to have a more positive mindset, and just be in a better place that allows me to like feel motivated and excited and yeah, just like looking forward to my runs, my workouts and races, everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's such a good point you raised there. And it seems that the traditional view to achieving success was very much grind, 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 push through. But actually, it seems that success is really reached when you're actually happy, you're actually enjoying what you're doing, and you actually want to be doing it. But that balance can be quite hard to find and maintain. Do you have any concerns around kind of keeping that in a good place as things kind of continue and maybe more success comes?
For sure, yeah. I think again, like with this, really see that everyone's different. I think I've seen that with my sister. I think when we were younger, I always was kind of annoyed how she was able to take things less seriously. Like I'm definitely more serious than her by nature, and then you start to realize like how serious you are isn't really what makes you like better. That's not what wins you races. Like your actions and like I don't know, like being disciplined definitely is important and that leads to success, but you can have fun with it and just enjoy it while doing those things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I really think it does. And I was thinking about something similar the other day, kind of the difference between self-control and self-discipline. And I think you sort of can have no self-control, but have self-discipline and have it the other way round. And I think it is kind of similar along those lines in that, yeah, you need to have the ability to do what you need to do, but also you don't have to be fully locked in. You can let go of some of that control and relax around it and enjoy it a bit more. What for you then has been the most valuable thing that you've learned so far from your running journey to date?
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like any single lesson I've learned in life almost has been through running, or even like just at least revealed to me in running. I think you start to realize you can kind of tie everything, like, I feel like everything can be a metaphor that's tied to running in some way, or I don't know. I definitely had something before coming into this that was like I've been thinking, but
No, honestly, there's just so many things.
there
But I
is.
think the point you make about it being like a metaphor for life is in itself a fantastic answer, in that you really can extract the lessons learned from running and apply them to general life because it is filled with so many kind of highs and lows. And do you ever feel that the experience you've had growing up as an athlete has given you any advantages or kind of key differences between your friends who maybe aren't athletes or people you know who haven't had that experience?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it depends on what perspective I'm looking back at it at, you know? Like there are definitely days where sometimes I'm have more of a negative perspective or some days I have more of a positive perspective and I think um ultimately just like coming away from it and being grateful for everything is probably the best perspective to have. But I don't know. It's hard. It's almost like one of those nature versus nurture questions. Like, was I always going to be this way, or was it because of those experiences that I had? I don't know. But I think I definitely do kind of have like this um like desire to like be something or create something or like build something or um and maybe that's from, experiencing kind of those things when I was younger. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point there, that kind of intrinsic motivation and nature versus nurture. Firstly, on that motivation point there, is there anything in particular that you feel you want to make something of yourself for other than those kind of initial experiences? Or is there a particular emotion from those experiences that's kind of driven your thirst and hunger?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think even before I went through it all, I always wanted to like give back to the sport and help other girls and talk about the things that aren't always talked about, but are definitely starting to be more talked about now. Because that's something that I think I always wanted growing up. Like I'm the oldest child, so I didn't have like this older sister to see go through everything before me. And I think that's something that's really valuable, like having someone to look up to and learn from, even if it's just by watching. Um, so I definitely always kind of had the desire to like give back, and help other younger girls going through the same things that I went through. I think like also with my family's running camp, Project Gold, like I've really enjoyed building community through that and hopefully will continue to do that, um, and just grow that community and give back to the people that attend our running camp as well. And it's really fun for me to come up with new ideas, of different collaborations or sponsorships or just like merchandise, like whatever it is. I really enjoy that. Then I also, I am in school. I'm getting my master's next year. So I'm excited to figure out what like my career will be. But yeah, there's a lot of different avenues for that for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess with Project Gold then, how did that come about? And yeah, what are the kind of long-term aims with that?
Yeah, so this summer will be our 10th year of doing it, which is so crazy to think about. But back when I was 12 or 13, it was the summer of 2016. Um, my family was in Park City, Utah, and we had this friend back in Minnesota that kind of wanted to come out and train with us, and my dad kind of came up with the idea for a running camp. We created a logo, and then I literally just looked at the mile split rankings and messaged all these random girls on Instagram asking them to like pay to come to our house for a week and attend our camp that didn't even exist yet. So I can only imagine what those girls thought when they received a DM from a 12-year-old asking them to come to her running camp at her house and like pay. Um, but we did have three girls come that first year, and then the next year we had a little bit of bigger group and a little bit bigger group, and it started in Park City, and then it went back to Winona, Minnesota, which is where I am originally from. And then when we moved to Arizona, it switched to Flagstaff, and that's where it is currently. And I feel like that's the best possible location. I love Flagstaff so much, and so do like every single other runners in the world. But um yeah, it's been so cool to just see it continue to grow, and it's been such a community builder. Like it's so fun being at meets and being like, "Oh my gosh, that was a camper, that was a camper." And then we also have had so many amazing counselors as well. But yeah, and I loved it so much when I was a camper attending it, and now I kind of get to direct and lead it, which has been really exciting, and it's still just as memorable and fun for me.
That's really great to hear. And yeah, I think camps are a nice idea because it is, at the end of the day, it is quite a small niche community and everyone's doing pretty much the same thing training wise. So it's nice to bring people together and share experiences and talk about the challenges because they can be really specific to the sport itself. And you've mentioned your sister now a couple of times, being the older sister as well. What was your experience of having kind of someone following up in your footsteps?
Yeah, so she is on the Oklahoma State team with me now. She's a sophomore this year. We've always been really close and really good friends. I think it's is a little bit interesting when you start to do everything with your sibling, because it's easy to compare, and then also like other people really find it easy to compare. I think people think that just because you're sisters, they can which I should like people have been very kind and respectful of that. But yeah, comparison definitely does start to come in, but it's been really fun to have the experience of running with her, and living in Stillwater here with her has been really fun. And these are our last few months of being on the same team and living together. So it's definitely puts everything into perspective.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like having a sister kind of within the same sport comes with a lot of highs, but it can also, yeah, have that other side. It can be a point of comparison. And how do you find the competitive nature kind of when you have to compete against her?
Yeah, like growing up, people would always be like, "Oh, are you guys rivals?" And no, like we've always just been friends first. Both of us know how to, I guess, kind of like not make running everything. We have other interests and we enjoy doing other things together. We also like running together. I think that's another thing that kind of going through various struggles and injuries and setbacks kind of does for you and has done for us. I think it's like made us really appreciate where we both are at and be, I think, more supportive and understanding of each other. Um, but it was never something that we really struggled with. I think it was hard for me when I was hurt and
Mm.
she was doing well because it was almost like salt in the wound. Like I am not able to run, and my sister is able to run and race, and she's doing really well. And that was definitely hard at times, but I think it's just kind of like understanding that and still trying to be supportive in different ways.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I like that kind of looking for support in different ways and being understanding of the situation and acknowledging that, yeah, sometimes it is okay to feel a little bit miffed by something and that's perfectly natural and normal. And yeah, you just have to make that conscious choice to be supportive and do what, yeah, do what you know you need to do in the situation. I guess then kind of moving on to sort of nature and nurture a bit further in that respect for you, what do you think made you so stand out at such a young age? And what are your thoughts around giving a lot of attention, especially media attention, to young girls or young athletes within sport?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think first, what contributed to me, I guess, being like good from a young age, I definitely did work hard, um, and it, like I said before, it's kind of a family thing, so it's just something that I tagged along with. But I always was pretty driven and like goal oriented and wanted to achieve things. And I think once I found that I was good at it, I just was like, okay, like I'm gonna keep doing this. And from a young age, like, I wanted to, like, go pro out of high school, like, that was always my goal, so I think it's yeah, it was just something that was really exciting to me, and as far as, like, media attention, I don't know, I think it's a hard thing to balance. I don't think I have necessarily a perspective one way or another. I think my generation, I guess, has kind of been the first generation to grow up with social media and having it, like at your fingertips at any given moment. So there's definitely ways to balance that. And I think figuring out how to use those things in a way that is beneficial to you is important, especially when it comes to comparison. Like, we weren't really designed to see everything that everybody does. Um, but from an attention standpoint, I don't know. It's It just yeah, it kind of is what it is. Like I said, like, I definitely felt it when it went away, but you just have to, like, figure out where you're getting your confidence from, and I think for me, like, that has to come from my faith, which I, like, I believe is something that's eternal and, like, the social media attention, even, like, running, like, those things don't really last long term, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting to hear. And yeah, very valuable, I'm sure, for anyone who's in a similar position or working with someone in a similar position. And yeah, I guess it does really come down to making sure that there are those different avenues within life or different areas where you do place your value, or for example, yeah, having faith or something that's a bigger entity than the immediate or short term. And I guess now we kind of come to the end of our time, move on to some quick fire fun questions. Firstly, if you won the lottery today, what's the first thing you'd do tomorrow?
Oh my goodness. I would probably just, like, take all my friends on a trip somewhere. It's like spring break time here in the US, so
Amazing. I love that. What would be the destination of choice?
it's tough. Um, I have always wanted to go to, like, the Maldives, so maybe there if we're going really extreme and tropical, it'd be a really long flight, I think, but if I had won the lottery, might as well go all out, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. Chuck in the first class premium at that point too. Number one change you'd make in the sport and why?
Oh. Um, I feel like a big thing right now is, like, making it more exciting, but
Mhm.
I think having more, like, I don't know, like, walkouts, like, other sporting events that I've gone to, you get, like, the walk-up song. I think that's always fun. Honestly, just getting more fans is always exciting.
Yeah, love that. No, I think that's a great one actually. And yeah, definitely something that does add that excitement and interest to it overall. What's a meme or quote or something that's resonated with you recently?
Ooh, I have so many on my phone. I love Pinterest so much, and so that's where I get like all of my quotes. But let's see.
The big reveal. What's gonna make the top one?
Okay, here's a quote, very philosophical. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. I like
Ooh,
that one.
I love that. Kind of highlights integrity, I guess, as a key thing and being authentic.
For sure.
Okay, and a random talent or unexpected talent or like hobby that you have.
Really random talent is that I can raise one eyebrow, which like other people can do too, but it's always
I
kind of
love
funny
that.
to randomly do. Um, yeah, I used to be really good at well, decently good at juggling a soccer ball. I don't know if I really have that anymore, but that kind of used to be my other random talent that I would share.
I love that. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's still actionable. It's happened. It was done. You can claim
Yeah.
it and own it.
Yeah.
Cool. And what three people do you invite to your dinner table, running or just general life?
Oh gosh. We have a coach right now that this is like his favorite question to ask, like who would you get dinner with, dead or alive? I think ooh, I don't know. It's interesting too when you like live away from your family, because then I'm like, well, I would just probably go to dinner with my family, and my friends at this point in my life. But if we were getting it exciting, um, I really do think it would be fun to eat with Eliud Kipchoge. Like, I feel like he would just be so smiley, and it would be really fun to eat with him. Um,
He is always smiling. He really is.
I know. I don't know. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got him, do you really need anyone else? That's the question.
Yeah. Him and my family. It'd be a good group.
Amazing, love that. And what would you be serving at this dinner?
Ooh, I really recently like curry and Indian food, so maybe some like chicken curry.
Oh, nice. Classic, can't go wrong with it. Okay, and last question. What's the number one thing that you'd want people to take away from this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like that it's it's hard. Um,
It's fine, take all the time.
I don't know, like you can keep going and you can keep finding like different ways to think about things, different perspectives. Like just because you are where you are right now doesn't mean like anything is over. Like I feel like just not to be so extreme about everything. Like give yourself some grace and give yourself also the time and patience to figure things out. Like it is good to be aware that like life is short and everything, but also I think it's good to be aware that like there is time and like you have time to figure it out.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And I think it's very applicable to your typical athlete as well. Typically a group of people who are maybe a little bit too quick to move sometimes or put too much effort or too much kind of emphasis on something when actually sometimes it is about doing the opposite to what maybe the general population should be pushing to do because yeah, your natural is already a little bit maxed out. But no, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on and, sharing your story, your journey. You've had an incredible journey. You've got a lot of wisdom that you've been able to share. So, no, thank you so much. And yeah, best of luck with everything, especially out in Duke and wrapping up with your masters.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, no, great meeting you too. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to rate, subscribe, and leave a review. This really helps to get the content out there. And I want to make this podcast the best possible for you. So go follow Fitter, Faster, Happier on Instagram. That's Fitter, Faster, Happier to leave your questions, comments and feedback, and for updates and guest requests. All the best for the week ahead, guys. Run happy, live happy, be happy.